Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, ask any cattle farmer or rancher how much food his or her cattle or horses eat each day, and they'll be able to tell you right away. The answer is going to be around 30 pounds, give or take about 5 pounds or so, depending on the animal's size, the activity, and the time of the year. But ask anyone how much food a human consumes each day, and things get really convoluted and complicated. I didn't know, so I tried to find out. And here's what I found. And I'd welcome comments from folks who think I've missed the mark. It seems the average American eats about 2,000 pounds of food each year, which is about 5.5 pounds per day. Now, if this is correct, and because our U.S. population is about 333 million people, then America consumes about 665 billion pounds of food each year. And so with the rapid decline in the number of U.S. farmers and ranchers since just over a generation ago, combined with the growing concern for food security in America, an important question to ask is, do we even have enough farmers and ranchers to produce the food that Americans need to eat? Say when a mother walks into a grocery store to buy a week's supply of food for her children, can she be assured there is still enough food produced right here in America so she doesn't have to depend on some foreign country for her family's nutritional needs? After all, we now know in real time how geopolitical unrest can interfere with our nation's critical supply chains, including our food supply chain. And if I'm correct that we each eat about 5.5 pounds of food each day, then you'll be alarmed by the answer. You see, last year the U.S. imported 138 billion pounds of food from a long list of foreign countries. Some we can call friendly and some we can't. That means America is now dependent on foreign countries for over 20% of the food we consume each year. And equally worrisome is how fast America's dependency on foreign countries for our food has grown. Just 2 decades ago, the volume of food imports was only about half of what it is today, meaning our dependency on foreign countries for our food has nearly doubled in a very short time. And the trend is that we will continue growing our dependency on foreign food unless Congress makes some significant changes to current trade policies. The trade policies we have now are certainly weakening our nation's food security, and they're accomplishing that by weakening our domestic food supply chain, by eliminating American farmers and ranchers. So let's go back to the mother shopping for her family at the grocery store. Let's assume she understands the power of her consumer dollars, and she intends to use them to strengthen America's food supply chain, and she knows she can do that by seeking out and purchasing food that was born and raised or grown in the United States of America. So she puts tomatoes, apples, oranges, beans, fish, chicken, lamb, and potatoes in her cart that all bear a product of the USA label. She knows that by purchasing USA food, she is creating demand for food that only USA farmers and ranchers can fulfill. But she also puts 4 ribeye steaks in her cart, and they are also labeled as products of the USA. Now, unbeknownst to her, unlike the accurate labels on her other meats, fruits, and vegetables, the beef label is meaningless. And that's because the U.S. Department of Agriculture continues to allow beef that was exclusively born, raised, and harvested in foreign countries to bear a product of the USA label, even when the beef was only repackaged in a U.S. packing plant. So even if the mother wants to support America's food supply chain by creating demand for cattle raised by U.S. farmers and ranchers, she can't. Her purchase merely sends a generic demand signal through the retailer and to the packer to source more beef that is eligible for the USA label. And of course, that means the packer can continue sourcing beef from 20 different countries and can continue labeling all of it as a product of the USA simply by putting it in a new package. Now, that's just one example of how our U.S. trade policies are undermining our food security interests, harming America's cattle farmers and ranchers, and deceiving America's consumers. So now that the elections are over, let's pull together as producers and consumers to reduce our growing dependency on foreign food, to strengthen our domestic food supply chains, and to achieve lasting food security. The place to start is to pass the American Beef Labeling Act, Senate Bill 2716. So please go to our website at labelOurBeef.com. That's labelOurBeef.com to learn more about how you can help us accomplish this very important task. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.